Breath of the Wild 2 will reuse the open air of Hyrule. We know that from series producer Eiji Aonuma and director Hidemaru Fujibayashi. So, how will they add new purpose to areas that were spiritually and physically tied to the champions and their successors? Just like what is the case for Link and Zelda continuing and developing their story. In Gerudo, Ganondorf's return might impact the province and its people greatly, as tensions here between the Gerudo warriors and the equally militaristic Jaeger Clan have been brewing here for a long time. Today we will explore the dangers that lie ahead, but first make sure to leave a like, and if you are new, subscribe as we go inside Breath of the Wild 2's Gerudo Lands.
My country lay within a vast desert. When the sun rose into the sky, a burning wind punished my lands, searing the world. And when the moon climbed into the dark of night, a frigid hail pierced our homes. But the winds that blew across the green fields of Hyrule brought something other than suffering and ruin. I coveted that wind, I suppose.
Ganondorf is back, and with it, the Garuda might be put to a difficult choice. Join their leader from the distant past along with the Jaeger Clan to take over Hyrule, or fight him alongside Link and Zelda to complete Hyrule's restoration. In previous Zelda games, the Garuda would likely take side with the male ruler, but the Garuda of the Era of the Wild have seen too much blood and hatred caused by Ganondorf and Calamity Ganon. Good indications of this defiance is how he has been completely written out of the tribe and disowned. In fact, instead of Ganondorf, the Garuda cherished the female Garuda heroines, and Nabooru, who opposed the great evil which ruined their civilization time and time again. In fact, throughout Breath of the Wild we only hear about Ganondorf once from Urbosa, and then it's only to tell Link of the great shame Ganondorf brought to the Gerudo tribe and how much he is despised by all of its female members. As it stands, the Gerudo chieftain Riju and the Gerudo leadership with close ties to Link and Princess Zelda as the only surviving member of the royal family and best friend of Urbosa and thus the Gerudo have no interest in aiding Ganondorf. Quite the contrary, they prepare to fight both him and his supporters in the Jaeger Clan, who previously attempted to kill Princess Zelda and Link, and stole the Gerudo heirloom, the Thunder Helm. Another sign is that Link has been promised to be accepted into the Gerudo warrior ranks after defeating Calamity Ganon, which after the destruction of the Hyrulean army during the Great Calamity is now the strongest military force present in Hyrule. So could the Great Desert and Highlands of Gerudo, which were spared the horrible destruction during the Great Calamity, become a battleground in Breath of the Wild 2? It is quite possible, as within Gerudo Town we see Gerudo warriors preparing to battle the mortal enemy, the Jaeger Clan. And the tension and hatred between the two has been present for centuries, if not tens of thousands of years, as Urbosa clearly demonstrated in the greatest memory of the Champion's Ballad. The Gerudo are badass warriors with solid sword, shield and spear capabilities, and under Ganondorf's command were feared throughout Hyrule. Thus, they could be a big threat to Ganondorf and the Yiga, now that they are mortal enemies. So a battle between the two factions in Gerudo Desert is possible, and would really put Riju's military skills to the test, as we didn't see them displayed in Breath of the Wild. Though the Gerudo with Link and Zelda might have another ally against Ganondorf and the Yiga to prevent a massive bloodbath in the Gerudo Desert and Highlands. But first, let's have a look at the locations found in the Gerudo Lands.
The territory of Gerudo Desert and Highlands makes up for around 1/5 of the entire map of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, a massive borderland area stretching from southern Tabantha and central Hyrule in the north, the Great Plateau and the Faron Province in the east, Arbiter Grounds in the south, and the Great Fairy Fountain in the west, the last two also marking the edge of Hyrule. It is worth mentioning that with a few exceptions, such as Chief Urbosa piloting Divine Beast Varna Boris, all Gerudo territories completely escaped the horror and bloodbath of the Guardians, which led to the downfall of the Kingdom of Hyrule 100 years ago. Not a single Gerudo outpost fell, including the important trading point Gerudo and Hylian merchants Kara Kara Bazaar. Anyway, let's begin our quick overview from the Sheikah Tower and Divine Beast Varna Boris. This Divine Beast, just like Zelda mentioned in regards to Divine Beast Vah Ruta, is likely immobilized after Urbosa, along with the other deceased champions and the King of Hyrule, passed away after Link had freed Zelda from a 100-year-long struggle. However, Spectacle Rock is an important location as it overlooks the entire desert and much of Hyrule, so perhaps this could be the location of an underground dungeon. Nearby, we also find some of the only Guardians found in the entire Gerudo province, and surprisingly enough, they are located near the South Lome Labyrinth where the Barbarian armor is found.
This structure, based on its architecture and carvings, is no doubt of Zonai barbarian origin. Obviously, as the Zonai were likely mortal enemies of Ganondorf back when he ruled the Gerudo lands of Hyrule, the disappearance from these lands might have something to do with him. However, how did the Zonai get here deep inside Gerudo territory in the first place? Two possibilities, either from the stronghold in the Faron province, or as some have suggested, from Arbiter's grounds. The origins of the Zonai is a mystery, but the presence of Arbiter's grounds suggests that Gerudo territory could have been a multiracial province, long prior to the Jaeger clan's arrival following the split within the Sheikah tribe close to 10,000 years ago. Anyway, if the Zonai are hidden underground Hyrule, then they could join forces once again against Ganondorf. And if they are really gone, then they could have left several powerful artifacts behind for Link and Zelda to collect, in say, the parts of Arbiter's grounds that is underneath the sand. But what about the Jaeger clan and their continued presence in the desert and highlands? The situation for the Jaeger clan is a quite peculiar one, as they for the most part after the defeat of Master Koga have left their hideout to hunt for Link around in Hyrule. Even so, some remain back in the highlands, and with a possible conflict between the Gerudo and the resurrected former leader Ganondorf, they will no doubt be there to support him. Whether it will be to battle them in the desert or aid him in overthrowing the incumbent chieftain Riju. And this is the great weakness of the Gerudo. They may have a strong army, but very young and inexperienced leadership. No doubt, Riju is brave, which we clearly saw when she used the Thunder Helm to protect us from Nabori's strikes in Breath of the Wild. Still, Riju is much younger than even Link and Zelda, and commanding an army against the greatest threat Hyrule has ever seen is something quite different than seal surfing with the Thunder Helm. Riju will likely play a key role in Breath of the Wild sequel, as one of the spiritual descendants of the champions, and in some ways replacing the most powerful of them all, Urbosa. Though, with Breath of the Wild 2 being much darker than the first game, we wouldn't be surprised if Riju ends up making a mistake on the battlefield and end up killed or at the very least overthrown by Ganondorf. Simply put, create a storyline similar to the one we saw with Zelda, of failure 100 years ago, to build her character. Breath of the Wild started with us being at rock bottom and slowly getting stronger until we reclaimed the Divine Beasts, gained the champion's powers, pulled the Master Sword, and achieved a great victory against Calamity Ganon. Breath of the Wild 2 might take a different route, by starting with Link and Zelda and all the other successors of the former champions in their prime, but quickly end up with an attack and swift loss from the hands of Ganondorf. The Garuda, as we saw in Ocarina of Time, values strength, and if Ganondorf aided by the Yiga easily beats the Garuda warriors, even with Link in the ranks and overthrows Lady Riju, then the Garuda might go from being our friends to enemies. In other words, a reversal of what was the case in Ocarina of Time. If so, then the Gerudo warriors under Ganondorf's command could be much more dangerous than the Jaeger clan ever was. Still, if Riju survives, she might fight along our side to defeat evil and reclaim her throne in a power struggle that will continue until the final confrontation against Ganondorf. Perhaps she will be the next heroine of the desert, who is yet to pull her sword against evil. But you know what? That is a video for a different time. For now, we need to realize that even though the Gerudo is very important to Ganondorf, his aim beside claiming the Triforce has always been to take over Hyrule. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and press that shiny notification bell for all notifications, and then head over to HMK's channel where he will talk about how the rest of Hyrule could react to Ganondorf's return after tens of thousands of years. Finally, a big thanks to all our great patrons on patreon.com/commonrun. You can join them too by heading over to the website. And other than that, we will see you in the next one.